the graffiti was actually located across the street from the corner of Aptos and Fran Baker in Del Paso Heights.
And you said your friend Neil brought it to your attention. What was your initial reaction?
He did. You know, the first thing I thought was, oh my God, our babies cannot see this. Like we do not want them further terrorized and victimized by such disgusting, vulgar language. And, you know, we're all dealing with a lot now during COVID. And the last thing we need is additional stress upon the families and the children that live in the neighborhood. And so I was just disgusted.
And so what did you do about it?
Well, so Neil sent the pictures and immediately said, we got to paint over that. Like, we got to get rid of that. And so initially, Neil and I chatted and we just decided to paint over it. It was just going to be he and our family. But then immediately I thought of Merv Brookins, who actually is he's on mute, but Merv is the founder of Brother to Brother, and it's a nonprofit that operates in Del Paso Heights. He works with the youth. He just has been in Del Paso Heights and worked with our community for a long time. And I knew that this is in his background. I knew that he would be very, very concerned as well. So I called Merv. Merv grabbed some young people, and he and some of the staff came out, and they really, really supported us to make sure we could get this done.
All right. Mervin, do you want to chime in?
Sure. I think Tanya's doing a great job, but yes.
And did you want to add anything about, you know, especially, you know, seeing this graffiti in Del Paso Heights, you know, what impact does that make? What message does that send? And you didn't want that messaging there.
Well, exactly. And Tanya was exactly right. It's extremely discouraging when we're already disadvantaged community and we have our inherent challenges. Things like that just exacerbates the problems, especially the racial problems that we have in this community. So when Tanya reached out, it was a no-brainer. Of course, we needed to deal with it and deal with it immediately. And our challenge at that point was not having too many people come out. So, you know, everybody was on board because this is we're a community that we have our challenges, but we support one another. Mm-hmm. And we have a long tradition of community support out here. So it was a no-brainer. Unfortunately, we were able to get it done. I don't believe it'll be the last time we'll be out there. That particular area along the bike trail seems to be a magnet for that type of thing. So, but we got enough paint. So every time it happens, we'll be right back there sending a different message as a community.
And Neil joined us, and I wanted to remind that the whole reason we knew anything about this is because it's literally right outside Neil's door. And Neil sent the images to me, and then from there, Neil and I just jumped on it and planned this.
Yeah. Hey, Neil.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey. So welcome. Neil, can you just tell me what your initial reaction was when you, I guess, walked out of your house and saw this across the street?
Yeah, it was a little bit of some slight shock, and you know, irony and surprise. I really viewed it as a learning opportunity. I mean, to be honest, you know, you hear this a lot, but we, you know, Black people kind of in this culture, like you're kind of overwhelmed with messages and sentiments like this a lot. But seeing it that close was definitely a reminder of how, you know, just how real it is and how, you know, next door it can be. And so my friend who's actually right here was with me and saw it. She's having a conversation right now. But that my initial reaction was a mix of kind of shock, but also like, hey, this is an educational moment. We had a 30-minute conversation, you know, about it, and yeah, and then I shared it and just kind of went from there.
Yeah. And what was the learning opportunity?
To be able to, for one, understand like what is creating these feelings. Like we've seen, I believe deeply, like the feelings that cause this. Maybe the social causes aren't the same, but the emotional, the raw kind of emotional feelings where this comes from isn't that different than other things that we see, like when gang signs or things of the sort goes up. But the way that we process and deal with these feelings and the things that come up, are dangerous and they're interesting. It's just that was to me the learning experience, to look at like what those things were, and then also like what can we do about it, like being able to, how do we take action on it without, it doesn't have to be anything more than what it is, which is something that's extremely urgent and something that needs to be changed and something that we need to be serious about. And
All right.
Well, I'll share with. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Kristen, I wanted, you said you were from Yuba City, so kind of what spurred you to get out and help paint over these mixtures?
Actually, I saw a post that Tanya put on Facebook, and I reached out to her because the images are disturbing. They're hateful. And I just think that it's important to create the world we want to live in. And I want to live in a world without all this hate and all this racial tension. So I reached out to Tanya and said I agreed with her that their babies shouldn't have to see this stuff. So I just reached out and said, is there anything that can be done? Do you guys need help? And so I showed up. Yeah.
And I think Mervin, was that you trying to say something?
Yes, I was just going to share from the perspective of some of the young people that we brought out. It was a moment where we asked them how they felt about it. And they spoke to the bigger polarization in the United States and everything that's going on. But it was our opportunity to help them understand that they have to be the change that they want to see. So them being able to be a part of it, to be involved in it, was extremely beneficial because they realized they had the power to make change, and they did. They couldn't paint, but they tried.
Excellent. And then Tanya, I know this is just purely coincidental, but February 1st, we're talking about the first day of Black History Month, and obviously it's just 1 month, but I mean, there's kind of a coincidence in this happening as well, correct?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
Honestly, I don't think it's a coincidence. I think that while we unfortunately are faced with images of hate in our lives as Black Americans, I don't know that it was coincidental that the day that it was posted, if that had meaning and if it didn't, I don't know. But I will say this, the time for change is now. And I'm really proud of our young people. I'm proud of the change that I see in our community. And that's Black, white, brown, yellow, that's all of us. There's so many people that are standing together and that refuse to allow former racist practices to be the status quo. Those days are over. And we're gonna stand up for each other. And we painted it today, but it was the energy. I wish you could feel the energy that was out there, because that was so much more than painting a fence. When we said love wins, when we said no hate, I could feel a shift in the energy in the room. Well, we weren't in a room, but you know what I mean? Like, you could feel it, it was palpable. And I so appreciate the energy that the young people brought to the project. I appreciate that Greater Sacramento is looking at doing things differently. But yeah, today was just a beautiful day. It was a great experience, and we will do whatever we need to do to protect and ensure that our future is protected. Our young people are protected. Their energy, their mental health is protected.
It felt good too, because there's a lot of these, I wouldn't call this a mic, but a lot of these I had a call come in at the same time. I don't know if that.
Come back, Neil.
We have a lot of these type of things that happen across the country, and a lot of times it doesn't take more. It took about 30 minutes of coordinating offline and about an hour and a half of work to make what we felt like was a major statement today. And more people seeing that across the country, I think will help and allow us to balance a lot of that aggression with the love that's there, and then will overwhelm it. Also wanted to say Anika Richardson, who helped us out there painting today, was also with me when I saw that initially. So if you wanted to, also find out what her initial reaction was to that, Van, this is a good time.
Well, actually, no. Hi. Yeah, you want to say anything?
It was powerful. I was working with Tanya with painting, and it was powerful to see, the community show up, and all walks of life just come together and just make a difference. It felt pure, felt beautiful. I was very emotional. There were some moments where like I stepped back, and like you guys probably didn't see it, but I was like tearing up. But, I'm sensitive.
Well, tell me why you got emotional, if you can put it into words.
It was, well, because initially when we saw, the initial graffiti, it hurt, but then like, I don't know, afterwards, it just, it felt, I guess it just gave us, like, I felt so helpless in the moment when I did the initial graffiti, and like when we were able to make a change, I was just like, wow, this is what we fight for. This is what we fighting for, yeah.
And then Neil, you actually brought up something, and I want to ask you, because you're saying that this was, also a means to kind of confront a lot of aggression. So what, if you could talk to the person or persons who painted the initial graffiti, what would you tell
them? I'd ask them a question first, and I'd ask to help me understand why is racism good. I specifically want to know if, for one, if they have the capacity to put themselves in my shoes. That's the kind of the first benchmark for us being able to have a intelligent conversation. If you can put yourself in my shoes, how would you explain to you, racism and the consequences of it are good, and how would you convince you to be okay with that and to support it? Help me with that. Convince me the same way you would convince you, and let's start a conversation from there. And then I'd start from where I'd try to help them understand, like, hey, if you're me, this is why I don't think it's the same way, and here's my.
Yeah. Anyone else want to say what they would tell this person?
I was going to say, I think that, gosh, your reflection is so accurate, as you kind of think about where that person is. But I would wonder, and would, if it was an open question, I could ask anything, like what past traumas has this person been through? Where did they come from? What are their core experiences that have led them to this place? Because I too want to understand, because that's where the change happens too, is me understanding, where did you start, and how did this happen that you believe this way? And so those kinds of things would be interesting to know. And because that is the beginning of the conversation. It's where are you coming from and why?
A beautiful thing happened too, if I can add this on to my response, after you left, Tanya. One of the people that Herman is one of the people that was helping us out, that is across the street, and was out talking to a neighbor afterwards, and that neighbor came with him back across the street, after looking.
Was that the lady in the red shirt?
The lady in the red shirt. Her name was Monica, and she came over, and after talking for a little bit, I remember her saying, specifically, like, I hated seeing that out there. That made me so pissed. And she was like, I get it, because like I used to be an asshole like that. I used to be those words of 20 years ago and whatnot. And I thought it was, and I've had deep conversations with people that have been on that side of things. And I always think it's beautiful, and, a very deep level of vulnerability and transparency where you can have conversations with people that have been through that. I thought it was beautiful to see. My line of work has kind of created that response for me, but like, it was beautiful to see everybody that was around her, be able to accept that, as in the same vein, we all have histories when we were young and did young and dumb stuff with it. But, your ability, I was telling Onika, like, I'm sure racists, love their children, their grandchildren, their nieces, their nephews the same way the rest of us do, right? That at a certain level, right? There's the things that tie us, and our capacity to tap back into it, is what's most important. But anyway, it wasn't like I was able to talk to the person that did it when having that conversation with Monica, but like it was cool to be able to acknowledge that like it's a phase and a place in evolution and development. It's not, it doesn't have to be necessarily who you are. It doesn't define your soul, it's any other, but it's a stage to move past. And the consequences of not moving past that stage are also pretty big too.
I just wanted to share one, I'm sorry if I didn't mean to step over you, Neil, because what you said was important.
I felt like I was probably rambling on a little bit anyway.
I was just going to say one amazing thing happened too, Neil, that right when we were ready to leave. So we were all standing in Neil's front yard, which, everything's very visible from that point. But we saw a woman walking her dog. And as we're standing there, it was like the second coolest experience of the day. We're watching her stop, like literally take pause and look at what we'd done. And then we saw her take a picture with her camera. And I think she was posting it, I'm not sure, and we were just like, oh, we were like, oh, it was like such an amazing moment after kind of just taking it all in and knowing that our act created a ripple in ways we can't even imagine. Like we touched people, Kristen and Merv and Neil and Anika and all the other beautiful people that came out, we made a difference today. And that's what it's all about. It's about, we made a difference today. And I'm getting goosebumps, just saying that because
we made a positive difference.
Yes, we did. I'm like, oh, we did.